Hi, this is Dr. John Grazel, and this is another of our videos on critical issues in international development. But this is a very special video in the sense that it seeks to focus on three penultimate issues in development. And by penultimate, I mean these are the issues just before the ultimate issue. These are three issues that if you address properly, they will solve a host of other issues below them. And which if you don't address, but just try to tinker with what are the pieces below them, you really won't solve the overarching problem. And these three penultimate issues are not necessarily the way most people see things today. Uh, they're very complex and they're discussed in other videos, and therefore, to discuss them is not to go through them in all their complexity, but to put them on the table as where efforts have to be. So, what are these three penultimate issues? First, in a predominantly half of the world, a predominant number of the population are actually under 30. And in some cases, countries have half their population under 20 and even younger. And these young people don't have jobs, don't have education, don't have clear roles, don't have a vision for where they fit in the future. Giving those young people the vision, the hope, the understanding, the skills, and the place, not only in that future, but crafting that future, is the first penultimate issue. But it's not just about youth, because, of course, in half the rest of the world, you're getting an aging population. And therefore, when I say the penultimate issue is youth, the real need is not just to address youth, which one can through employment and education and other matters, but to address what I call intergenerational justice. There has to be a rebalancing of the relationships, rights and responsibilities, roles and requirements between the generations in ways that produce intergenerational justice. And that doesn't only mean intergenerational between young and old today, but those yet to come. The second penultimate issue is urbanization. The world just recently flipped into being more urban than rural for the first time in history. But what we are seeing is, in certain parts of the world, the rate of urbanization is almost what one could call astronomical. Now, when you say urbanization, very often people think you're designing new cities, but very often that is not what's happening. What really happens when you do studies geographically is you find is that centers of settlements grow, and then they merge together into what are called megacities. And what you're getting, these gigantic cities, except they are merging together. They don't have coherent, systematic, and adequate infrastructure. They don't have a sense of community from which they have arisen, but rather they are communities that almost in many cases are disintegrating and coming together in their loss of community. And they have basically, because they are basic concrete jungles in many cases, or decified areas, they have lost in their formation the connectivity of man, the ground he walks on, and what is really the earth and its life. So you have generations of young people born today who literally have never seen what a star-studded sky really looks like. They don't even know it exists. And to deal with this problem, we have to totally reconceptualize and redesign our understanding of what urbanization is. We may have to actually come out with a hybrid where we begin to put the rural and the urban back together again, where we actually sort of take out suburbia and merge the rural and the urban so we can begin to get what could be called green cities, cities that can return us again to a sense of who we are and let us become part of what is a larger global system, which is really a life system in itself. The third penultimate issue is that of energy. We all know there's an energy problem, but the problem is that if you actually study anything from physics to human societies, with complexity always comes the requirement for more energy. And the requirement for more energy is going to increase exponentially. Complexity in all its forms, social, physical, institutional, always requires more energy because it is energy that keeps complex relationships together. How are we going to deal with this? Well, obviously, we're going to have to produce more energy. But what we're always also going to have to do, obviously, is become much, much more efficient in our use of energy because we waste enormous amounts of energy. Because we haven't accepted the fact that, in fact, we are literally the stewards of the energy we use. Not some little machine or meter that we put between us and the energy. We and our behaviors are the primary determinant, in many cases, of the efficiency of the energy we use. And here's a very interesting situation. The reason I call these three issues penultimate is if we look at the world, the fastest growing cities are in Africa. Massively growing. The cities with the largest number of bulging youth are in Africa. The cities with the most inefficient use of energy tend to be in Africa. And where they're not, they're also underdeveloped cities. So this phenomenon of youth bulge, uncontrolled urbanization, and massive inefficient use of energy actually comes together as one problem. And if we solve them, then under it is the problem of global warming, of productive economies, of healthy environments, of the providing of education. But these actually crown those sub-issues. Now, the reason I call them penultimate, however, is they're not the ultimate, because we can also look at the world and we can find excellently run cities which provide services and opportunity for their young, which maintain a connectivity with nature and the world around them, and which happen to be fairly energy efficient and are becoming more energy efficient. So the problem is not one of whether we can do it or not. These are penultimate problems because the ultimate issue is our will and motivation to act. And that will and motivation to act has to come from yet a higher level of energy, one that rests in our spirit and not in our power plants or our political arrangements or necessarily our ideologies. But the penultimate issues that we have to address and have to see the problem of youth and the need for intergenerational justice, the problem of massively increasing urbanization and the need to recreate a total redesign of how we merge what might be called the green real earth with the artificial constructs of urban society, and the problem of energy and the fact that we need more energy in an ever-increasing complex world, socially, technologically, politically, but we cannot possibly meet that challenge unless we really increase the efficiency with which we ourselves understand and use energy as a reflection of our own life and the priorities of our own life.